Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to meet you again. I think I have met many of you before, so I just wanted to make sure that you have a chance to talk to me a little bit. So I'm not going to make a opening statement. I'll just be open to your questions and then try to respond to your concerns. My colleague here will moderate this meeting. If you could kindly introduce yourself and then ask one or two questions, because I'm getting a little bit old now and may not be able to remember a series of questions if you continue keeping too many questions. So just please limit yourself to one or two questions.
We'll start with the Japanese.
My name is Arai from a Japanese paper, Yomiuri. I understand there is an arrest warrant for Mr. Nasheed. What will you do with it?
It's not what I will do with it. It's a police process. I just hope that they will not be too enthusiastic about restraining him, because I really want to. I really want everybody in this country to offer former President Nasheed the respect and the safety that he requires. The government is committed to his personal protection. So it also requires a little bit of cooperation from his side, because it will be very difficult for the government to ensure his personal protection for his bodyguards and security. If he keeps on sneaking out and joining demonstrations, then it's really very difficult for us to do the job of giving him that security. So I just hope that he will also provide some cooperation. Our objective is not to inflate what is going on, but to help calm down and get into a dialogue where we can come to an understanding on how we move forward towards the next election.
President, so you mean so far you don't arrest him?
No, he's free. He's moving around, and I understand he was about to travel today to the islands. But he's completely free. I am sure you are free to meet him anytime you want if he's available. He's able to participate in meetings and speak to anybody, meet anybody he wants. Is that all for your questions? Yeah, thank you.
Mr. President, I'm a journalist from Shanghai Morning Post, China. I have two questions. Number one is, Mr. Nasheed said that he need a snap election, but you said the current environment was not conducive to holding free and fair election. I don't know why. The second question is about many travelers worried about the security in Maldives, especially in Malay. What do you think about it? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With regards to the demand for an election, the Constitution has a solution to the problem, and that solution is when the President resigns or is unable to perform his duties, then the Vice President has to step in. And so what has happened is the constitutional process has been followed, and if you also know that the next election is not very far away. In fact, so about a year and a half before the next election. And people have already started announcing their intention to run. And so preparing for a next election is already underway. But, I don't agree that there is a need to go for a snap election at the moment. And we are not ready for it. The country is deeply divided, and we have the political landscape has many potholes and deep rifts. And so these things have to be healed before we can actually have a meaningful, free and fair election. And my job, I believe, very strongly, is to create that kind of environment, political environment in which we could have a truly free and fair election. I also think that if we try to force election now, we might also get into more conflict in the country. And this is not in the interest of anyone. So I will try to be as fair as possible, as impartial as possible, and try to ensure that while we follow the good programs that we have in the government, we also establish some kind of rapport among the various political actors, and then move towards, to stabilize and to consolidate our commitment to constitutional government, to respect of separation of powers, and also, very importantly, to uphold rule of law in the country. We will not do the kinds of things that we have seen in the past 2-3 years, where there have been blatant and criminal violation of rights of people, basic rights of people. So I think it's really it deserves patience and moving forward in a responsible manner. Thank you.
Hi, Vikas Bajaj from the New York Times. I'll ask you two questions, but I'll give you a chance to answer the first one. Yesterday we heard from Mr. Nasheed and others that there's been significant amount of violence in Adu and other far-flung islands in the country. Your police spokesman said that there hasn't been, the situation is calm. Can you sort of give us a status update as to what exactly is happening in Adu, whether people, the elected council leaders have been arrested or deposed, the mayor has been deposed, which is what Mr. Nasheed said. What is the situation in Adu and the other islands?
Okay. First of all, I would like to call all parties to restrain themselves and not to fuel currently explosive situation. It is not a responsible form of leadership when you go around calling for violence. This is, I'm adamant about it. I really insist that no political leaders should call for violence in the country. In Adu, so much damage has been caused to public buildings, but even more importantly, the public records in the judiciary, the entire judiciary has been affected there. The police centers have been torched, and the police training center has been. But this has come following call by MDP and President Nasheed's supporters for violence in a recent demonstration, as you know. The situation is calm now, and I have been out here extending my hands and hoping that there will be more response. I have talked to colleagues in MDP. I'm going to form a government hopefully within the next day or two, but I will still remain open to any overtures, any response from MDP. So yes, in short, your question, to answer to your question, is there has been extensive damage there, and that will take millions and millions of dollars of investment to recover that. For safety, for visitors and so on, that was also raised. You've been here for a while, I think, for a couple of days, and you can compare. I'm sure you also have been to other countries with this kind of conflict. We have had all government offices open, all schools open, hospitals working, and resorts functioning, and so on. So despite the fact that we've had deep differences and conflicts, the country continues to function everything continues to function here. And I am greatly thankful that no foreign national has been to any harm, as far as I know. And all the tourists who are coming to Maldives are completely safe. And it is for you to judge. Although there is tension underlying, the situation has remained relatively calm.
My second question, sir, is there's been a lot of criticism of the Judicial Services Commission and the process through which judges have been vetted and appointed and disciplined or not. When you were vice president, a lot of these things were going on. What do you feel like Maldives has made significant improvements in its justice system since becoming a democracy 3 years ago, or in 2008? Or do you feel like that's a largely unaccomplished part of the democratization of the country? How comfortable do you feel that the judiciary is independent and impartial?
You see, no institutions of government today are perfect. Our democracy is very young, and so there are improvements that have to be made in the executive branch. The presidency wasn't functioning as it should be functioning, and there were problems within the executive branch as well, and there are also similar problems in the legislative branch. But under the constitution that we have today, we are required to respect the independence of the judiciary. Now, the former president, was involved in the appointment of the Supreme Court, and even then he exercised, extraordinary intervention to force the kind of Supreme Court that he wanted. The Judicial Service Commission has a number of very prominent people in it. Some of the best educated, best talented people in this country. That includes the Speaker of the Parliament, who was a former foreign minister. It includes the head of the Civil Service Commission, the Attorney General, and many educated people in there. Why do we think that one person who is heading the executive branch knows much better than all these other people who are already there in the judiciary and who have the functional and legal responsibility to take action? It is very difficult to justify intervention by the executive, head of the executive branch in the judiciary and threaten the judiciary of its abolition. Threats were made to abolish the lower courts entirely and to reconfigure High Court and the Supreme Court, which he himself established. By doing that, you create the fear and instability and insecurity that goes with their jobs. And this was a huge threat to the judiciary. I don't say that judiciary is perfect. There are things that have to be improved, but there is a process that is laid out. There is a mechanism for that. I advise the President that we have to be patient and not engage in extra constitutional activities. None of your countries will tolerate head of state ordering the military to snatch a court judge, chief judge, and take him off to an undisclosed location without access to lawyers. In a democracy, this is unheard of. Nobody thinks about these things anymore. So it's really unacceptable. There have been a series of actions by the President that undermine the Constitution and that tantamount to go against the Supreme Supreme Court Chief Justice's verdicts, and so on and so on. So this is not a single event, and what broke the camel's back was the snatching of a judge and keeping him in detention by the military. And the military was not happy with it either, because they were being issued unlawful orders. So, I mean, there is a pattern to this. You know, although we are talking about democracy and justice and independence of the judiciary upholding the rule of law, it is those of us who are in the leadership positions who have to demonstrate our commitment to democracy through our behaviors, through the actions and orders that we issue. So I can assure you that my government will never go against the Constitution. It will uphold the Constitution. It will uphold the rule of law and respect the separation of powers that is built into our Constitution. We are committed to democracy. Democracy didn't start 3 years ago. The struggle for democracy started long ago. We have all been part of that process. Mr. Nasheed is not the only one who brought democracy to this country. Of course, he was the most militant one and most famous one. But there were many people in this country who struggled for democracy. And when Mr. Nasheed wanted to get elected, he didn't have support he needed. So he came to all of us for support. He came to me. I come from a different political party. And I supported him. We didn't win first round. Second round, we went and asked all the other political parties. And then we won. But as soon as we won, he decided to chase out everybody and go by himself. That was the beginning of a political situation that have grown and deepened in the country. So we need some healing here. And to do that, you need a bit of calm and quiet. And I am committed to this process. I know I have the capacity. I know I will be fair and allow this situation to improve. As an indication of my commitment, I have said that no one from my party will get a cabinet post. I will open all possibilities to all the other political parties, including MDP. And when I fill most of the positions, I will leave substantial positions for MDP, hoping that they will still come through. My hands are open, my hands are reached, and I hope that they will step down from the very confrontational, conflictual positions that they are taking. Of course, former President Nasheed is an important leader of MDP. He is not the only leader of MDP. There are constitutionally elected leaders in that party who are silent at the moment. I have had discussions with some of them. I know there are intelligent people in MDP who are willing to work together for the interest of this country. It is irresponsible at this point to begin to escalate the situation and create conflict. This country is so vulnerable, geographically, economically, and socially. We are such a small society. We cannot allow conflict to exacerbate. I also know that there is a role for the law enforcement agencies to ease the situation. I don't approve of the kind of confrontation that went on the other day. It was regrettable, but still, when you have a crowd of people coming out, chanting public places to be burnt down, and then you see so much damage caused, the law enforcement agencies will have to action to stop it. Our priority is to establish law and order and security for everyone, and I am happy that we haven't had any more serious incidences in the country. I can assure you we will do everything possible to keep the situation under control, to maintain a law and order situation. So that's really, I must have given a very long answer to a very short question. Sorry.
I'm Chair from the China's Xinhua News Agency, and I just have one question. And how do you think the current political situation will end? And what do you think the solution will be to the current? I think there is a deadlock since the two sides oppose each other. And
yes. I think we will move forward. We will have dialogue. I think we will come up with a roadmap towards the next election, which will be held in 2013 as scheduled. I assure you that. And then I am optimistic that working together, we will create an environment that is free of deep rifts and anger, and we will remove the hurt that is involved now and try to come up with a united approach to go to this election. And this is my vision. While we do that, we have a lot of other things that we need to do. We also have to stabilize our economy, and we also have to continue our social development programs like housing and insurances, social safety net programs, and all of these things have to continue. All these things will not go on. These things will collapse if we engage in further conflict. This is why the only way to go forward is through dialogue, through consultation, and through working together. We cannot look back now. We have to start moving forward.
Mr. President, just to check with you, you met Ambassador Blake this morning, and the international community has been calling for some kind of investigation into the events of Tuesday. They're calling for an independent investigation. Are you agreeable to this, and what are the assurances that you have given the international community through people like Ambassador Blake to reassure them that you are committed to what you have said?
I am fully committed to an independent investigation. I don't want to set up a presidential commission to do that and to influence the process. There are constitutional mechanisms for doing that. I will discuss with all parties on how best we can achieve that. That includes MDP.
My other question
Yes.
is, there have been reports that there have been a lot of arrests, but in the south as well as in other parts of the country. So Mr. Nasheed was telling us yesterday that unless the crackdown stops within 24 hours, he would take to the streets and escalate his demonstrations and protests. And he was saying medicine in Mali is the strength on the street. So how do you respond to that, and what can you give us a sense of the arrests? How many have been taken in, and do you really plan to release them quickly, or what's your take on that?
I know there have been some arrests. There have also been a lot of damage caused to public property. Criminal activities have gone on. We cannot shut our eyes to it. So those who are perpetrators, and where there is substantial evidence to support it, I cannot interfere in law enforcement agencies doing their jobs. I can assure you there will be no political detainees in this country. There are no political detainees in this country now, and it will not happen. We will not keep people beyond the statutory limit of detention for investigation. Without the proper procedures, we will not hold people unduly. We will always charge if we have to. So I can assure you that rule of law will be followed.
But can you give us an idea of the numbers? How many in custody since the Tuesday?
Okay. I have had some conflicting figures. I don't have the latest with me now. We can check that out and give you in a minute.
And you say you're fully committed to an investigation or an independent investigation?
Independent investigation. Yeah.
Mr. President.
Yeah, please.
Mr. President, Krishan from Associated Press. Just an extension to what Mr. Amal Jai Singh asked. Are you concerned that your government is not fully recognized, even though people are working with you? There seems to be some question mark over how the power transfer took place.
Let me correct you there. Nobody has questioned the legality of my assumption of office. It was done according to the Constitution by the people who are supposed to perform it. There are some questions about what preceded my assumption of office, and this is where we are saying I am completely open to an independent investigation of what went beyond that. I want the record to be straight, that there is no question from anybody who I have met about the legality of my being in office and so on, because we followed the Constitution according to the letter.
And the second question is, Mr. Nasheed is of the opinion that you do not have public support and that you struggle to form a government, even though it's been a few days since you took office.
Yeah.
Do you think that you are fully in control of the country and that you are not being a puppet of anybody?
Okay, I can assure you the law and order situation will continue to be under control, and we will have smooth environment here if President Nasheed, former President Nasheed, cooperates with us. If he doesn't provoke people and incite violence, we will have peace and security here. You don't have to worry about anything. I have full support of all the active political parties. I have full support of the military and also full support of the police. So there is no question about it. As for forming a government, true, I am taking time, but there's a very important reason why I'm taking time, and that is because I want people to come together and I want to form a national government. And I want to keep the door open for MDP to join this dialogue and join this team. I have said nobody from my political party will be given any posts in the government, in the cabinet. So I'm really committed to being fair and to be impartial and to engage with all, including colleagues in MDP. As for support for me, I have not asked for demonstration of my support. I don't think that is the priority at the moment. The priority right now is to be calm, to try to find solutions to this problem, not to show my strength. But I'm telling you, if I have to show it, I will show it, if people have doubts about it. I don't know why he has raised this issue in the first place, but we will see. Thank you.
I'm Susita Panan from Xinhua again. Are you going to contest against Mr. Nasheed if an election was held at any time? My second question is, if the demonstrations are continued like this, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Look, I can't say yes or no to the first question because I haven't actually really given thought to it. My priority at the moment is to respond to call of duty from my country and to be as fair as I can and to be as proactive and bring everything that I have, all the experience and the education that I have to bear upon this situation so that we can actually find a way forward. So this is really the priority at the moment. As for more violence and so on, I told you there will be no violence and there will be no conflict here if President Nasheed cooperates and if President Nasheed stops calling for violence in this country. I am expecting a responsible leadership from Mr. Nasheed. I know he's a celebrity in some ways, and he likes to be on the streets, but we have to take national interest first, not his personal popularity or his personal desire to become famous on the streets. If you are responsible, you have to begin to put national interest first. And here we have our hands open, reached out to the party to work with us.
I'm Niels Horner from National Swedish Radio.
Yes.
I have a slightly different question. What was your reaction to the attack on the National Museum? And secondly, are you concerned about the spread of extremism in this country?
Okay. No, this is totally unacceptable. The museum is our heritage. That's where we have our history. And I will not tolerate that. It is not acceptable at all. We need to protect that. Of course, when something like that happens, automatically it is used as a case of extremism. I can assure you that there is no extremist violent activities in this country. And in a Muslim society, you have to expect, parties that are representing religious perspectives. This is natural. This happens also in advanced developed countries. So in that sense, even in President Nasheed's cabinet, he always had a minister representing the Islamic ministry. And in my cabinet also, we will have somebody representing that. But the majority of the intellectuals in this country, and will be reflected in also the cabinet, where you will have mostly highly educated, mostly Western educated people in that cabinet, who will have to engage with each other to find a way forward that is acceptable to majority of the population here. So these are fears that are being played on for political reasons, and I urge you not to pay too much attention to that. I am optimistic that our leadership, that my leadership and the colleagues that I have in the cabinet are reasonable people who understand what development means and what is good socially and culturally for our people. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, following this issue, actually, I would like to ask you, if
Sir,
my name is Raimondo Bultrini for La Repubblica Italian newspaper.
I see.
You had an
Okay.
interview by phone. from
Yes,
Italy,
yes,
right?
I did. Thank you.
So, my question is, the reason why was necessary to, let's say, us to get rid, let's say, of this former president by a big country, a small country but big economically and as a strategic country in this area, right? So what was so serious in his behavior? I can give you a few points. Okay, the judge who was arrested. But the judge who was arrested actually was well known in this country also for the critics for his corruption. And yourself and other people in the government before agree that there was some problem with this judge. So, I mean, who was making more problems, the judge or the former president? This is one point. And then, for example, the behavior of the former president. Like many people, many allegations that he was like having alcohol and then in the house is forbidden here. So having behavior who are not, like say, anti-Islamic in some way. So the people also fear here that he put in the capital town many SPA and who were before like it's a close inside the resort. So the population doesn't like this. So which one of these allegations, the judge, the Islamic point of view, is the stronger one? Which one? I mean, the motivation really led the police or the army, whatever, rebellion against him and put you in his place?
I don't know exactly what inspired what happened. In the sense that with the information that I have now, I categorically deny that there was an overthrow. This is not the case. There's not only one incident. There has been a series of violations and contempt of court, criminal contempt of the court by the president over a period of time, which included, among other things, locking down the Supreme Court, arresting leaders of two political parties and detaining them arbitrarily without charging them, and international community had to intervene to have them released. Suddenly, very erratically, asking his entire cabinet to resign one day and all of them to go to the parliament to demonstrate outside, putting locks on parliament, the gates, This kind of erratic and irresponsible and sometimes unconstitutional actions have gone on over the last 2-3 years. People have been very patient with him. And then what broke the camel's back, as I said, were these particular incidents when you know you have a country where you have reasonably well-educated people, highest literacy rate in the whole region, many of us educated in the West, who want a society in which we are free from fear. And for the first time, after many years of struggle, we have a constitution that guarantees Bill of Rights, individual freedoms, and safety, individual safety, separation of powers, and the rule of law, all of these things. And then suddenly you find out that suddenly in the middle of the night, it's not Mr. Ghazi himself that we are worried about, but suddenly you have a president who is ordering his military to go and snatch a judge from his bed and take him to an undisclosed location, keep him there indefinitely without access to legal assistance. If he has charges against him, he should bring charges against him. This is the issue. It's not about the judge. It's about a serious criminal violation of the Constitution and the judiciary and civil rights. A champion of democracy cannot do something like this. You know, you cannot infringe on the personal liberty of somebody, irrespective of who it is. Today it is a judge. Tomorrow it is the head of another political party. And another day it's an Islamic scholar or somebody else. So this is something that people will not tolerate in this country, and it is an affirmation of our belief in democracy and democratic values, for which we are not ready to compromise. And when he starts issuing unlawful and unconstitutional demands, people sometimes stand up and say enough is enough. So he realized he did not have the support of his own military, support of his own police force, and support of a large population of this country. And then now he's behaving like he's somebody who has been overthrown and victimized. If ever there is a cause of what has happened, he is largely responsible for it, nobody else. There was no plan, there was no plot. You know, if we all had a plan to do this, we would be much better prepared. Where are we? You know, our story hasn't gone out. We don't have a media strategy. We don't have people to work with us, because all the important positions in government and private sector were taken by MDP of the president's party. He doesn't want anybody other than his own people in every single job. So this is the situation. There is something wrong with it, and the people have said enough is enough. And
Can you compare him with the former president that you bear?
well, you see, I don't want to judge. It's not my role to judge. I don't want. I don't.
The last 15 minutes.
No, I don't want to compare.
Yeah.
You know, there were abuses there are earlier, and there were abuses. That's where we decided we wanted a new constitution. We struggled for it, and then we got a constitution, and then we expect things to change. No.
So you don't consider yourself close to the former president as Nasheed?
I am close to President Nasheed. I have not seen former President Mamoun for a very, very long time, and he spends a lot of his time abroad. I have not spoken to him until after I assumed my position now. I never talked to him. And so it is unfair to find a bogeyman and say, look, that guy is responsible for all of these things. It's not the case. And if it was the case, then I would be forced to take only his people into my cabinet. Don't you think?
Mr. Ghazim, for example, he's going to join your cabinet.
Mr. Ghasim is not joining my cabinet. I can. In fact, I am saying that anybody who has political presidential ambition should not actually come. You know, let it be a team that is mostly technocratic and mostly young and capable people who will come in and manage this for the next few months. It's really, I also see, this as a great opportunity now. I know there has been hurt on all sides, but let us move forward. And here I am open to assist in that process. I don't think there is anybody in this country more qualified to assist in this process than I have. I have served 3 years as a head of UN in Afghanistan. I have worked in Yemen. I have worked in Lebanon. I have spent 5 years in Lebanon during the civil war. So I have extensive experience, and I know I have always been saying that conflicts have to be resolved peacefully. There are people who are capable to assist us in doing these things, and we need to follow a peaceful approach. This is very irresponsible to be on the street and destroying things. Please don't approve this kind of approach. I hope that the international community will support a peaceful approach through dialogue to move forward towards a peaceful, free and fair election.
Sir, Karishma Vyas from AFP News Agency.
Hi.
Back here. Hi.
I see. I didn't realize you were still waiting for questions.
Yes, I am. So yesterday, Mr. Nasheed said that he would support a transition where the Speaker of the House assumes the highest role for a few months, for 2-3 months, until elections can be drawn up. Would it not be best for the country's stability, economy, all the kind of issues that you mentioned, for a new government to be formed with the support of the public, so nobody could say that it was a coup or that you were not elected?
Okay, the answer is simple. There is a constitutional solution to this problem, and that is for the sitting vice president to take office. I will challenge anybody to prove that I had anything to do with the change that has happened. I'm only responding to constitutional duty, and I'm sure that the Speaker of the Parliament, who used to be my student, will agree with me that I am well qualified to assist my country in this time of need.
But would it not be better for the people of this country if this was all laid to rest through their votes in a ballot box?
Yes, definitely the ballot box is coming, and not very far. But if the ballot box itself cannot be done peacefully unless we actually build the ground and get it ready for that. It's not in the cards. I cannot accept a rushed election at the moment. We have an opportunity to seize, to rebuild this country, and this is what I am determined to do. If President Nasheed wants something, we cannot be decided unilaterally. We have other political parties in this country. MDP is not the only one. And besides, what right does he have as head of his party? He doesn't even hold an official position in that party. If he thinks that we don't have support, of course, we will show him that we have people's support, people's backing. I have 12 political parties in this country who are backing me, and then I have the law enforcement, all the law enforcement agencies fully backing me. So this is not acceptable. Well,
yes, sir.
Yes,
sir. Rishi Lekhi from the Associated Press Television. So there have been reports that Nasheed has been offered asylum by the Indian government. Are these reports true? And what do you think about the Indian government's action?
Okay, I'm not aware of this. I cannot respond to it since I'm totally unaware of this. If there is an offer like that, but if it comes up, of course, and if it's raised, we are open to dialogue. I believe that I am the constitutional head of the state in the Maldives, and I have a moral and legal responsibility to engage with anybody who wants to discuss these things with me.
Is there a need for Mr. Nasheed to seek political asylum?
No, absolutely not. If he wants to engage in a political process, in the dialogue, he is free to work with us. There is no compulsion from anybody for him to leave this country. I have assured you even earlier that he will be given full protection and respect that a former president deserves. And yes. Okay, we have a constitution, we have independent institutions here now, and I believe that we should discuss how this can be done with our local partners, not only the political parties, but also the Human Rights Commission and other bodies, the Parliament, and let them decide. I don't want to preempt the discussion by suggesting that it should be done in a certain way. All I can promise you is I will not form a presidential commission of investigation on this. I don't want to have a hand in this process. So I really appreciate you being here with me and clarifying some of your concerns this morning. And I will assure you that I will do everything possible to have peaceful Maldives and to guarantee the safety and security of all of our visitors to Maldives. Please continue to come and enjoy in the Maldives. You are witness to the situation here. In spite of the tension that is going on, it is peaceful on the whole. Thank you very much. I look forward to meeting you again at some other time.